And we are live. This is Travis from Carter Cow Capital, Trade with Travis, and Expert Advisor Reviews on YouTube. I hope everybody's doing very well. Sorry about that. Hope everybody's doing very well on this Thursday morning. And this is the show after the FOMC, after Jerome Powell ended up speaking, more of an aftermath type of thing. And we're trying to be able to see how well people end up doing when it came down to trading. We end up we ended up timing perfectly on a couple trades, especially on like Nas 100 and a few other pairs. I'm gonna go over those, plus plenty more as we end up getting everything else done. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. And understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it is not promised that you'll end up making money today. So with that being said, as we go through, I just want to know if my sound is good. If you would, let me know if my sound is good for the people that are watching live. Just say, hey, let me know if my sound is good overall. We can be able to go from there and get everything else situated. Cool. So let's take a look at the economic calendar. We'll talk about what ended up happening yesterday, and then obviously we're going to end up talking about how that's going to end up getting us ready for non-farm payroll, which is going to end up being a little bit later on tomorrow overall. So from a weekly perspective, interest rates end up getting pushed up again for United States dollar, end up getting pushed up to 4.75. That was actually expected. It ended up going up another 25 basis points. Obviously, trying to be able to recover from what ended up happening throughout the 2020 COVID years and everything else like that. So, number actually ended up going up when it came down to that. Manufacturing PMIs actually ended up going down. JOLTS actually ended up going up. And other than that, we ended up having an FOMC press conference, and they actually ended up pushing up, not pushed up Nas 100 to actually end up fulfilling our overall take profit literally within an hour to an hour and a half. So all of the patience that we end up having from being able to say, hey, we're not going to trade it, not going to trade it, not going to trade it until this point, actually end up paying off, and typically it does. What's going on, CMG? As we end up getting everything else situated. So let's go ahead and go to the big three. We'll take a look at those overall, and then we'll kind of go from there. United States dollar index. I'm not going to go into the weekly. This market actually ended up completing our overall take profit position that we end up expressing that we thought it was going to go to at 16,626. Well, really no hesitation, no stop, no chance of being able to get hit by the stop loss. It was a big movement yesterday, and it completed the move earlier this morning. So that move is over with from a daily perspective. Now the question is, what's going to happen with this movement overall since then? So the market ended up breaking out of this consolidation. Typically, when you end up having a breakout, you end up having a retest. The retest is probably going to end up happening over the course of today, going into tomorrow. So please keep in mind that there will be some type of counter trend line break that may end up happening. I wouldn't be too keen on being able to jump into a trade right now on being able to sell it down again, even though it's really touching the past support turning into future resistance. It has to prove it. Literally, what would have to happen in this situation, if you're not familiar with it, would be that it will literally have to do something like this: break down, push up, and then after that, break below this counter trend line break again to be able to feel comfortable for me. So we end up going from there. Today's the day I graduate. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well deserved. Well deserved. Super happy for you. Super happy for you. And definitely will be there. Um, so um, we end up getting that done. So let's go ahead and move on to U.S. oil. Oil did not take a trade on oil as of yet. Still was in consolidation from that 82.50 all the way down to $70 a barrel. As long as it's still inside of this consolidation, there's really no reason to be able to take this trade. So we're just going to be patient, just like how we end up doing with Nas 100 and all these other pairs. Just going to end up being patient, and then after that, allowing everything else to kind of play itself out after we end up going from there. What's going on, Block? Hope everything's going well with you. Let's talk about gold. So Gold finally broke out of that consolidation. And remember, I ended up talking about this yesterday. Oh, shoot.
I'm going to say hey.
Huh?
Say hey.
You want to say hey?
Yeah.
Okay, well, come on. Say hey.
Hey.
Say good morning. Boy, your hands are icicles. Get out. Get out.
Hey, Dad.
What's up?
Give me your phone.
You did that just so I can give you my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, today he want to say what's up. Wait. Huh. Yeah, we ended up talking about gold. We talked about the counter trend line break that actually ended up happening, and then after that, actually ended up pushing out again. I did not trade gold. Actually, kind of wish I did at this particular point. But the one thing that I do know, or I do like to be able to see, is that the market is in a push zone. We talked about this with Euro United States dollar, and Euro United States dollar actually ended up completing this push zone yesterday. But there's a D extension that's expected to be hit at this particular point at 2053. So currently, right now, it's onward and upwards at this particular point. Hey, what's going on? I hope everything's going well with you. Thanks for being able to pop in. If there's a pair that you'd like to be able to talk about, let me know. We'll go through it. But yeah, it's in a push zone currently right now. The only thing that we're waiting on actually is a 15-minute counter trend line break. The market is expected to be able to go ahead and finally hit up to these resistance levels that they ended up hitting uh, early right before the war actually started in Ukraine, and then after that, the first time it ended up popping in that position over there. So that's the next position that's going to go. Obviously, we're still kind of bullish on it. We'll see how the market kind of reacts going into non-farm payroll and everything else. I want to go ahead and get into the Niles 100. Let's get that out the way. We ended up taking that trade yesterday. We ended up saying, hey, be patient. We had 2 orders that we ended up getting placed in. Did anybody take that trade with me and end up cashing out? Anybody end up cashing out on this trade? This one that we had to wait on. But I'm gonna explain why we end up taking the trade. I'm gonna explain how it ended up happening and kind of moving forward from there. So daily perspective, we can see that we're clearly in the sell zone, but when we start looking at volume profile, we can see that if the market ended up breaking above 12,082 or 12,080, we end up having clear selling until the market ended up getting all the way back up to this midpoint, which was at 12,480 something, I believe. Since then, the market still has the chance to keep on going. The question is, how much are we going to end up seeing today compared to what we're going to end up seeing tomorrow? And from a daily perspective, I'm sorry, from a daily perspective, we had cleared pretty much every consolidation point at this particular point once we end up breaking past this level. And obviously, by being able to look at that, we end up saying, okay, well, where's it going to go? When the market ends up breaking a resistance, it's going to go to the next resistance. Well, the next resistance in this case was this movement that ended up happening right here. I'm going to put an arrow right there in that case so everybody can be able to see it. That was in early August of 2022, ending off in September. September 12th when it came down to that consolidation. The resistance high was 12,440. We ended up taking a profit right there, right around that area. I think it was 12,480 where we said that we were going to end up getting out of that move. We ended up taking 2 trades off of this position. First trade was based off of 12,300. The reason why we said 12,300 was because when we started looking at I think it was the 4 hour that we ended up taking a look at. Let's see. Yeah, when we started taking a look at the 4 hour, we ended up seeing that we had this gap of space that we could be able to get out of, which was right here. That low volume node that we could be able to get into and know that the market was going to end up pushing. So first take profit ended up going to 12,300. The second take profit was basically at the top of the resistance that we ended up seeing previously that we just talked about. Ended up getting out. Typically, remember when you do a vortex trade, especially when it ends up hitting that low volume node, and you can see that the low volume nodes are a lot compared to what it was previously. That's when you end up getting that explosive movement. Literally, the trade ended up getting triggered and ended up getting closed out within right around 2 to 3 hours of overall movement, which is always exciting to be able to see when you end up making a movement like that. But literally what you can be able to see is high volume node, gap, high volume node. We end up getting right inside of this low volume node right here, where we have where it's basically unfair market trading. And we knew that the top of the resistance of the previous consolidation was up here, so we ended up taking profit in that area. So great trade for everybody. If you end up taking that trade, congratulations. That's a 400-point move in literally 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours when it came down to that movement, which was actually kind of expected overall. So once again, great trading for everybody. Let's see. Now it's 100. I get into Bitcoin real quick. I get into Bitcoin as well. US 30. US 30 is still inside of consolidation. Even though it made a big move yesterday, I didn't chase it solely because it's still inside of consolidation. This movement will not have its true breakout until the market ends up getting past 34,400. It tried to be able to get up there. I think we got as close to 34,345, but until the market breaks above 34,400, there's really no trading to be able to take on on US 30. If you're doing this as we do this as more of a breakout type of system, there's really nothing to be able to do when it comes down to that. But when the market ends up breaking 34,400, then we're talking about a major move of about 1,000 points that we can be able to go after. When it comes down to that overall position of where it's going to end up ending off. So let's see. Essentially, once again, when you break that resistance, the next resistance will end up being at 35,400. So 35,400 will end up being a spot where we'll look at being able to take profit. The point of control in this case will end up being at 34,700. So just like how we end up doing off of the first order, we end up doing 2 orders off of this one. The first one will be at 34,700, which would be the point of control. The second one will end up being at 35,400. So 300 points on one, 1,000 points on the other as we go through. You can place in your pending orders now if you really wanted to, because the market haven't pushed up in that area. But once it does, obviously you want to be able to get in. I would say if you're going to end up placing in a pending order right now, it'll be right around 34,400. Full take profit will end up being 35,400. Stop loss in this case will end up being just below the swing low. We have to get to the 15-minute to be able to see, but the last high volume node was right around 34,100. So it'd be right around 300 points going after 900 points. 1 to 3 risk reward ratio. I like that. I like those overall numbers, at least starting off. Obviously, we can change it whenever we need to, but that'll be the first initial movement. The second one will end up being that same 34,400 all the way up to 34,700. Stop loss will be a little bit tighter, but I'm just going to keep it right there. That's a 1-to-1 if we look at it based off of that. But obviously, the stop loss will be tighter based off of where the swing low actually is, and we'll go from there. But I keep that out, and I give everybody that idea once it starts to happen. Bitcoin. Bitcoin is finally starting to break out of this consolidation spot that we ended up talking about a little bit earlier. It broke out, it retested real quick. We go to the hourly. You can clearly see that the market broke out of that 23,790 area. We was expecting that the market will end off at 24,350, and then after that go up to 25,000. Currently, right now, we're not there yet, but there goes a breakout and there goes a retest. So counter trend line break is expected to be able to happen at some point in time. Currently, right now, we're actually looking at something right now that you may be interested in being able to jump in. The hourly is in the buy zone. We have a counter trend line break. The counter trend line break that's starting to push up right now. I actually like what I see. Question is, would I take that trade? 2 hours in the sell zone, but we're above the overall consolidation spot. We've been in consolidation for at least 5 days. Block, what you think? Our resident expert on cryptocurrency. Block, what you think? You taking it? No. Okay. If you do, stop loss will have to be below the swing low. You're still in the Bitcoin short. Okay. Low is 23,657. So anywhere right around 23,650 would end up being the actual stop loss. Take profit on this one. We end up being 24,350, and then after that 25,000 on a Bitcoin short, but long on altcoins. Okay. But yeah, if you're gonna take that trade, that would be what it would look like. See what the 15 minutes doing. I don't know. Um, if it was any other pair, I would take that trade. Bitcoin dominance is very high. Micro pattern, what's going on? Let's see. Is there any solid technical indicator that of decline of growth? When you're saying decline of growth, what do you mean? Are you saying um, low market volatility? Are you saying um, more of um, less market sentiment of people being interested in being able to trade inside of a certain area? What do you mean? Let's see. Um, I'm going to be honest with you. Kind of going back to what I ended up saying before. The one thing that ended up changing my trading overall, reduce volatility and setting growth or decline. Okay, cool. Um, Obviously, you can look at a couple indicators. The first one probably be the ADX. Um, you take a look at the ADX, that basically ends up talking about momentum overall, and allowing you to be able to know that once you end up having good momentum, obviously you end up having more people get inside of the game and being able to trade. For me, I think the number one indicator that I particularly use, especially on TradingView, has to be volume profile, um, and being able to understand what's happening overall. So all of the stuff that's on this left hand side right here, for me, this is number one to me, because essentially what it does is that it separates areas of high volatility and it separates areas of um, it separates area high volume and it separates area low volume. And to be honest, when you end up taking any type of trade, you never want to really trade inside a high volume because high volume leads to consolidation. You trade inside of low volume areas, that leads to unfair market prices and it leads to people kind of getting out the way, whether if they're in a wrong position overall, because typically that's where the explosive movement actually starts from. So me personally, if I had to say one indicator that has changed my way of being able to trade literally for the last 6 to 8 months, probably has to be volume profile, and being able to use that to your advantage. Because I, I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't find trades like this where you end up having a 400 point move right here, or you end up, we take a look at some of the other movements that we end up having like right here where literally this is another 400 point move right there. And all of this stuff is literally happening within 2 to 3 days when it comes down to push, solely because you end up having that growth factor that goes along with it. This is a good indicator. How do you use it in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, for example? Well, it's the same way. Um, uh, Nothing really changes with the indicator. This goes back to how you end up viewing everything. So, um, to kind of give an example, we take a look at Coinbase. We end up having an identifier seeing that we had consolidation that was right around this area. Now we had to adjust it a little bit, but if you notice, Just being very quick off of this one. Let's see. I just got placed inside of a trade on US 30 with my system on this. Hopefully, let's see if it does very well real quick. Let's see. Give me some momentum. You see that we end up having this high volume node. High volume node leads to consolidation. Remember, that's an area where you don't want to trade in at. But as soon as we end up breaking out of this overall high at 23,298, so 23,300, that's when you're going to end up seeing more of a push from the buyers in this case. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So when you end up taking a look at this from a 4-hour perspective or any other perspective, this goes back to looking at the research. Clearly, I can be able to see that the next high when it comes down to this position is at 24,900 because that was the previous consolidation spot. So if you just market and just track the previous consolidation areas and be able to see what's happening with where the market is when it comes down to a low volume node, it makes it easier for you to be able to be accurate on the spots on where you want to get out at. That's what I personally use it for. But even with this being said, Bitcoin, as soon as it breaks 25,000, we're talking about this huge gap of an area that we end up talking about going all the way up to 29. So we're basically in this low volume node area right now. So that kind of puts me or takes me back to what I ended up saying before about that overall trade. Should we take it or should we not take it when it comes down to that movement? I think I might hit full take profit off of this position. I hope so. There we go. Nice, nice. 1,200. Nice, 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 nice. 1,200. Just like that. Perfect. Nice, nice, nice. 1,200. Just like that. Um, it's a recent growth from yesterday week on this indicator. No, it actually it updates itself pretty rapidly. So it's another way of being able to take a look at everything and be able to know what's going on. Everybody, I'm actually done with the pairs. If there's a pair that you like to take a look at, place it inside. Don't you have a video on buying profile? Yes, I do. Well, shoot, I got plenty of videos on buying profile, and I have those case studies that we end up talking about. But let's see if I can find one real quick. Let's see. Um, but any pair that anybody has in mind that they would like to be able to talk about real quick as we go through real quick. Preview. I know this is one of them. Obviously, I have plenty of videos on it, and obviously, if you take a look at any one of the previous ones that we go, um, let's see. There you go. That should help out. But everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and call it short. We go ahead and get out of here. Really nothing as of yet. I literally just had a trade that just happened on US 30 that we ended up cashing out on, which was great. But that came from a bot. So um, I do like what I see with Bitcoin. I do like what I see with Bitcoin. I will say that. The question is, should we jump into it? That's the only question. But it is in that area where from 23 all the way up to 29,000 will end up being the next push. So um, I will say keep that in mind. Block. Send me a message. Let me know if you're gonna end up. Let me know if you're gonna end up doing anything with that one. Um, Everyone else, like always, make sure that you end up clicking on that boost button. Obviously, it helps out when it comes down to being able to be a little bit more visible to everybody else. And I do appreciate each and every one of y'all. I wait for the scan week down. um, And I was also the people that's watching on YouTube. Please make sure that you are clicking on that share button and clicking on that like button. I do appreciate each and every one of y'all. Like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. I see each and every one of y'all in the next video. Take it easy.